the egg before the chicken thing at all. So you have to strike that balance simultaneously. Um, it has been challenging over the years because music has been a diminishing feature. Coming outside, there are musicians coming with brass and woodwind talent. So it's been an interesting journey doing it.
And looking at the some now you said in terms of choosing music, you don't want to have the pulling and tugging, you don't want to have things that may be polarizing for want of a better word. What are some of those songs that have been used and have found favor?
Well, we would have looked at things that mainly the older bards, the calypsonians that would have brought out that would bring the country together, something that speaks about red, white, and black. That is what we tend to lean towards, especially during the inspection music, which is what it really changes every year for the independence.
And with that, we want to thank you very much, celebrate you for the work that you have been doing and continue to do in slightly different fields.
Yes.
But we want to thank you very much, Major Kester Francis, former Director of Music for the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, as we are here looking at the parade grounds and we're seeing people in their uniforms that are looking resplendent. We have another conversation, but right now we're just taking some of the sights and sounds of Independence or Independence Anniversary 2023. Enjoy. And on time, we have the arrival of the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security. We also have Ms. Margaret Hines arriving. They will be met by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security and the Chief of Protocol. So we've just seen Minister Hines greeted by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security, as well as the Chief of Protocol. We will also have Mrs. Hines in attendance. And we are going to be speaking with the National Scout Commissioner Mark Ainsley John. Now, the scouting movement in TNT, they were part of the Independence Parade for the very first time in 2022. So we say welcome and happy independence to you, NSC John. And what was that experience like, both for you as NSC and other members of the movement?
Well, happy independence to you, DK, and your listeners, and to all of Trinidad and Tobago. Tremendous, tremendous. I literally ran down from my seat and came to the front, just to see the scouts marching. The organization itself felt very happy, to be on parade for the first time last year. In fact, our young people messaged our social media pages to ask whether we'd be on parade this year because, they wanted to volunteer to get on parade, because they felt that being at this Independence Day parade is one of the highlights of their activities within the Scout movement as well. And so, we made sure that it happened. For me, it was a lot of personal satisfaction you know, because they spent a lot of hours marching, practicing, changing their diets to make sure that they could fit the rigors of an Independence Day parade. You know, they looked very sharp in their uniforms. I think I almost cried that day too. You know, it was very tremendous for us.
And it's definitely something that will move you, but in terms of that spirit of volunteerism, looking at what it is the scouting movement stands for, what do you say to the person who's saying that volunteerism, the scouting movement is waning in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, we were waning, that's a fact. However, we're on the up again because a lot of people are seeing the things that our young people are being involved in. They're seeing the changes in the lives of our young people, and the activities that we are doing are also engaging the young people again. So a lot more people are coming forward and saying that they would like to volunteer with the Scouts so that they could help the growth and development of our young people in Trinidad and Tobago. They're also looking at the fact that, you know, in our society we have a lot of young people who are in danger.
And who are we seeing right now?
So, yeah, the Scouts, right? You know, and because of that, they are asking to assist us in developing our young people.
And this will be a shot from 2022, I think.
Yes, that was from our 6th anniversary. And so on parade we have the Air Scouts as well as the Sea Scouts and Scouts. So we have three types of Scouts, or 3 programs in the Scout movement. This is our 2022. So that's an Air Scout on your monitors right now. Yeah.
And I think it would really be a boost to the individuals seeing themselves represented in this way, because representation, it matters so much. And how it is you have people saying, okay, well, I want to be part of that.
That's correct. That's correct. And because we were able to capture those moments and also be able to participate, those young people went back and said, hey, I was at the Independence Day parade. And therefore, you know, they had their friends, they had their peers say, okay, how do you get involved in the Scout movement? How do you get involved in Scouting so that I could be at the Independence Day parade myself? You know? And what tremendous, tremendous. That's all I can say. It was a wonderful experience. You know, thank you very much to all of the individuals that had made it happen. Thank you very much to our volunteers. Thank you very much to our parents. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to get our young people on the streets for an Independence Day parade, but also to participate in the Scout movement. You know, parents who take time out from their jobs to become leaders. All the leaders in the organization, including myself, are volunteers. You know, and we spend countless hours away from our families to give back to the nation and to give back to our young people in Trinidad and Tobago, so that they can become active citizens, citizens who could participate in society. We have had several members of the Scout movement joining the ranks of the Defense Force, rising to the top ranks of the Defense Force. In fact, our military participation goes back to being informal Coast Guard during the World War. You know, the Second World War and the First World War. We were actually an informal Coast Guard looking at the coast, lighting torches. We were the ones who discovered U-boats coming into the Gulf of Paria, lit a torch, because as you know, we light fires. You know, lit a torch and signaled the local police at that point in time, because everybody was away fighting in the war. So our young people were the ones that did that, you know, and secured, alongside the regular police, our shores during that time period. And it continues today.
And you say that as there was a shot of the Coast Guard on the monitors, but we want to thank you for the work that you and everyone in the movement is doing. We know that you would have recently come back from the Jamboree.
Yes.
So we want to thank you once more, National Scout Commissioner Mark Ainsley John, and we allow you to go back to be overseeing what it is you're doing from your section, making sure that your people are good. And we will be speaking with Lieutenant Avalet in just a bit, who will help to take us through the rest of the program.
And thank you very much, DK. Have a great day, and happy independence again.
Thank you so much. We take you back to some of those sites on the parade ground. Do enjoy.
The Red Cross and the Independence Brigade have given unstinting service every year to the Independence Day parade effort. In the case of St. John Ambulance Brigade and the Red Cross Society, both organizations have furnished personnel to take part in the actual parade, in addition to providing staff for first aid duties on every Independence Day. The government and people of Trinidad and Tobago are very grateful to the consistent service undertaken by these organizations. Military-led academic training program, Civilian Conservation Corps, Scouts Association, Seventh-day Adventist Pathfinders, the Pentecostal Crusaders, with their marching bands continue to provide an extra appeal to the annual Independence Day Parade efforts. We thank them all.
And we are getting ready to welcome the Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. Justice Ivor Archie, ORTT, and Mrs. Denise Rodriguez Archie. They are arriving, their contingent is there. We're also saying good morning to you, Lieutenant Karen Valère. Thank you so much for being a part of the proceedings this morning, helping take us through the paces and give us that information that we need to know, looking at what it is we're seeing on camera and breaking it down for us. And let me also say Happy Independence to you.
Same to you, DK. Good morning and Happy Independence to you and the citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
So we would have seen the colors, the consecrated colors and flags paraded. We would have witnessed the arrival of the Minister of National Security, and now we're seeing the Chief Justice coming in. Explain, please, the order in which some of these dignitaries arrive. Thank you.
No problem, DK. So what happens, there is a set standard of protocol and procedure which governs how the arrivals take place. So the first arrival after the parade commander, Group Captain Hannes, would have taken over the parade, would have been the Minister of National Security. The Chief Justice is now arriving, and that will then be followed by the Prime Minister. We have a first this year, the First Gentleman, His Excellency Kerwin Garcia, and the final arrival will be the guest of honor, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Her Excellency Christine Kangaloo, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
And as you say that, we see the contingent has arrived, they're pulled up. Individuals in the stands have stood up to observe the arrival of the Chief Justice, Mr. Ivor Archie, ORTT, as well as Mrs. Denise Rodriguez Archie, and they will be met by the National Security Minister, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security, and the Chief of Protocol.
Correct. So a parade such with this magnitude and the nature of this parade, you will see a lot of protocol taking place. You will see a lot of procedures, and the hierarchy is respected at all levels throughout the parade, and it should be a very educational experience for those looking on as well.
And we also give thanks for the weather. We had but just after the Chief Justice, we're having the Prime Minister arrive, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Mrs. Sharon Rowley. They arrive and they are met with the crowd standing as well as a round of applause.
Yeah, they will be met by the Minister of National Security, as well as the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security and the Chief Protocol Officer.
And one of the things I really have an appreciation for is the way that timing is mapped out. So we are looking at the time and seeing that everything is happening on clockwork, and we're now expecting that first that you mentioned, Lieutenant.
Yes, so we should be expecting the arrival of His Excellency Kerwin Garcia, SC, the first gentleman.
That's right, His Excellency Kerwin Garcia, SC. And here we have Her Excellency President Christine Paula Kangaloo, accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff, Her Excellency's aide-de-camp and her mounted escort, will approach the parade from the direction of the President's House, Circular Road, St. Anne's. And she is having Independence Day in this.
Yes, a very significant occasion. First President appointed this year in 2023 to the official nation in a exciting and historical day for our citizens.
So let us know some of the things that we're going to see at this moment, please, Lieutenant.
So we have the President taking her position. She is accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff, Air Vice Marshal Darrell Daniel. The parade commander, Group Captain Kemba Hannes, will now report to the President. She is on horseback, as you can see. The parade commander will report to the President. She will pay compliments to the President. A salute will be given, and on completion of that, we will subsequent inspection will be conducted by her.
It is 61 years on the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, a beautiful rendition played by the combined bands. We have the bands of the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, who just performed so beautifully the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So at this time, Group Captain Hannes, she is reporting to Her Excellency, and she will invite her to inspect today's parade.
Is this the first time we're having a female group captain up here?
Yes, it is. So Group Captain Kemba Hannes is the commanding officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard. She is the first female officer to be given the portfolio as a formation commanding officer, as well as she's also the first female officer to command the Independence Day Parade in the 61 years since independence. Trailing the President's carriage, we have with Captain Hannes as well as her aide, squadron leader Duki. So his role and responsibility, both prior and during the parade, is to provide that support to Group Captain Hannes as she executes her duties as the parade commander.
So the invitation has been given, so we're now having the inspection of the parade.
Yes, we are. So the President will inspect both the unarmed and the armed detachments on parade today. The front half of the parade, the armed detachments are located. So there we have the officers and the men and women of the relevant formations and units of national security to the front of the parade. To the rear half of the parade, they don't have arms. Those are the fire service, the prison service, as well as various youth groups such as the pathfinders, the traffic wardens. They form part of the unarmed detachment. So the President will be inspecting both the armed and the unarmed detachments on parade today. And this is a great moment of pride for the persons on parade. To be part of an Independence Day celebration is a wonderful career highlight for all service personnel, and the sense of pride, the sense of dedication to duty is evident on this beautiful Independence morning. So as you can see, the President, Her Excellency, is inspecting the armed detachments. We have 2 detachments of the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, 2 detachments of the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard, 2 detachments of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, 1 detachment of the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force Reserves, 2 detachments of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and 2 detachments of the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force. well as Her Excellency will take their original positions. The parade commander will then request permission to carry on with the parade. She will then pass specific instructions to all detachments on parade, and we will see a march past taking place. Each detachment will pay relevant compliments in the form of an eyes right to Her Excellency, and then they would return to their positions that they would have taken up on commencement of today's parade. So as you can see, Group Captain Anais, the parade commander, is taking her original position, while the President is proceeding to her position as well.
And once again, you can hear the crowd's appreciation for Her Excellency as she is returning to her original position.
The parade commander has received the okay or the authority from Her Excellency to carry on with the parade. So she will now pass specific instructions to the detachment in preparation for the march past.
One of the things that we really look forward to on an annual basis.
That is correct. Drill is a major part of the military. From basic training, from your first day within any military establishment, you commence parade and ceremonial training. It is said in training that the purpose of drill is to produce a serviceman who is proud, who is alert, and who is obedient, and is the basis of all teamwork. So today you will see those four attributes clearly manifested by the men and women on parade this morning.
And that is one of the reasons that it validates the comment that you said, that it is a highlight of any service person's career at this point in time to be a part of an occasion like this.
That is correct, and also the citizens as well. Enjoy seeing the armed forces march either on the roads and on the route march, which is taking place later on today, as well as those persons here at the Queen's Park Savannah. So it's not just for the persons on parade, but also the citizens of the Republic who are always excited to see us, the serving members, executing these movements with the precision based on the practice and the hard work that would have been put in over their respective careers.
And we see some of these movements and maneuvers have started in the sense that they've turned right.
Yes.
And they're going to march past Her Excellency momentarily.
Correct. So the parade commander would have given them the word of command, shoulder arms, which means putting the arms in the weapons in an upright position, turn them to the right, and they are marching off respective detachments.
So we take some of that in at this point in time.
Yes, we will.
Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force. Let us be reminded, ladies and gentlemen, that the Cadet Force has provided uninterrupted service among young people to Trinidad and Tobago. Cadet Force was established in the year 1910.
Immediately following the armed detachment is the unarmed detachment led by the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. In charge of Detachment 12 following with the colors for the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service as Fire Station Officer Angels. Detachment 15 of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service is Fire Station Officer Dean Francois Campbell. Second in command is Fire Station Officer L. Ramkisi. In command of Detachment number 14, Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, Acting Superintendent D. Modest. The Colors Officer, Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, Shelley Alexander. The only female color officer on parade this morning. Detachment number 15 of the Prison Service. In command here, we have Superintendent of Prisons, B. Mitchell. Second in command, Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, L. Patrick. Detachment number 16 is commanded by Acting Superintendent I. Edwards. Second in command, Acting Superintendent E. Todd. That Detachment number 17 is followed with the Municipal Police, Superintendent L. Ayong. Second in command is Acting Superintendent K. Kelly Garcia. Detachment number 18, we have the Traffic Wardens. In command there is Supervisor C. Charles. Second in command, Traffic Warden 3. A. Ali.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Detachment number 19 is followed by number 19 is the Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross. In command of that detachment, we have Commandant T. Andrews. Detachment number 21, SYSP Milat. In command, we have Petty Officer M. Richardson. Second in command, Petty Officer B. Strong. And the Civilian Conservation Corps. In command, we have Petty Officer T. Alain. Detachment number 22, we have the Trinidad and Tobago, the Scout Association of Trinidad and Tobago. In command there we have Senior Patrol Leader D. Nanlal. Second in command, Senior Patrol Leader M. Jaikaran. Detachment number 23, we have the Pathfinders. In command, we have Regional Uniform Coordinator A. Mulrain. Second in command, Regional Instructor I. Murray. Detachment number 24, the Pentecostal Crusaders. In command here, we have Commissioner K. Alfred. Second in command, we have M. Kassar.
Marching on from your left, ladies and gentlemen, the K9 unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The K9 unit is led by Sergeant Kurt Antwine. The second in command is Instructor Charles of the Police Academy. The dogs have been used in law enforcement from as far back as the 5th century, so it was only a matter of time before this trend was adopted by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Forming in front of you is the number 61.
Police Service K9 branch has come a long way from the days of Superintendent Thomas, who was fondly referred to as Dog Thomas because of his affinity with the K9, and Superintendent Hamilton Bridgman. They give outstanding and yeoman service to the K9 branch of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Ladies and gentlemen, the K9 unit of the Trinidad and the Tobago Police Service.
Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard are about to make their way onto the parade shortly. Additionally, you will witness a drive past. So all of the assets, vehicular assets that are within the national security framework, they will be represented on today's parade. So I'm sure that the audience, both here at the Savannah as well as viewing, are looking forward to seeing the rest of today's proceedings and the splendor and the magnitude that comes with an event of such an auspicious occasion.
And it is really something because, and while we were seeing the detachments marching past, it is an honor to be part of the detachment. But the individuals who are actually holding the colors even more so.
Correct. The role of the colors officer is a very historic role. Traditionally, in the old days, you're looking at medieval times, the flag represented the regiment or the army that they would have represented. And capturing someone's flag was seen as an ultimate insult and a clear sign that you would have lost the war. So the protection of the flag still remains today. You see the colors on parade, and they are escorted by 2 individuals with arms.
And we see one of the assets that you would have heralded, yes, actually making its way over the parade ground.
Yeah, so this is one of the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard's assets. Plays a major role within the national security framework of Trinidad and Tobago. So we'll be witnessing assets coming in shortly. And all of these assets play a very, very important role.
And part of the parade, like the flypast, when we have those explosions, also speaks to the discipline and the time and effort that would have been invested in the charges in terms of the mounts, the horses, the other animals, the K9 unit, and it just speaks to that discipline that is a part of what it is we stand for at this point in time.
Yes, Vicky, that is correct. What you're seeing here, as simple as it looks, it would have brought together a wide variety of agencies, units, personnel, who would have dealt with the planning, the operations, the security, the parade and ceremonial executions. So it's a lot of hard work, a lot of effort would have been put into these activities.
And we have another asset?
Yes, so this is the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard's B0105 helicopter. It plays a major role in search and rescue operations, as well as troop transportation within the national security structure of Trinidad and Tobago. And loud applause as always when the air guard flies past.
So it felt as though we just had a wave past as well.
Yes, we had a wave past as well. So it shows the skill and dexterity of the pilot on board, a citizen of our nation. So it also shows the standard and the quality of individuals within the armed forces, the level of qualifications, experience, and training that they undertake.
And we see two more approaches.
Unfortunately, this aircraft is adorned with red, white, and black on today's Independence Day celebrations.
Definitely, we're seeing a lot of that this morning for obvious reasons. So we've seen airborne assets, and we are looking forward to others now that will be driving past, Lieutenant.
Yes, we are. So shortly, the parade commander will be executing some word of command. She'll be giving the troops on parade an order to go into open order. On completion of that, you will see the undertaking of the drive past of the various units of the national security structure and framework of Trinidad and Tobago, the defense force assets, police assets, fire, prisons. They will drive across the parade square for the audience's good pleasure this morning.
Describe a little more what you mean when you say open order, thank you.
Okay, no problem. So on the parade square, there are specific markings that each individual within the detachment is required to line off on. Open order, based on the marking, provides a bit more space between the ranks. So a close order march, which they would have done for the march pass, they would have come into closer proximity to each other, both the rear rank and the front rank. In open order, they would spread apart a bit more. So that's a basic description. I'm using layman's terms as to how that is executed. I must say it's truly a beautiful day today, DK. A really wonderful day. The weather isn't too hot. I know we've been experiencing some really hot conditions. Pretty cool, and the persons on parade seem to be enjoying themselves, and the pride and distinction is being displayed by all persons.
Definitely. I think we missed a hot spell by one day with the weather, inclement weather on Saturday, but that weather on Saturday is not the weather that we're experiencing this morning.
No, it's not.
And we're very grateful for that.
Yes, we are.
other pieces of music that we've heard thus far on the square musical emblems of Trinidad and Tobago, the more we are together. The arrival of the president was heralded by Chiconia, as well as Let's Build a Nation Together for the inspection.
Yes, the mass bands on parade today, they would have executed those songs so splendidly, and you would have heard the level of effort and skill that would have been displayed by those musicians. We have 4 bands joining together, forming the mass bands, the regiment band, the prison service band, the police band, as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service Band as well. So excellent display of musicianship today on today's Independence Day celebrations.
And we would have also heard some of the effort that goes into making sure that there is one complete and unified sound, with the previous conversation with Major Kester Francis, former Director of Music for the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force.
Yes, Major Francis has played a significant role in the history of the Defense Force and the nation of Trinidad and Tobago with his skill and experience as a musician and as a former Director of Music. He would have laid the foundation for what we would have seen here this month.
Postal service in Trinidad and Tobago. The duties of the branch include countrywide patrol duties in both Trinidad and Tobago, crowd control duties at protests and carnival celebrations, guards of honor, and escort duties to the president at parades and to dignitaries visiting the country.
Commissioner of Police, Wayne Meister.
This is always another beautiful part of the Independence Day procedure. We would have seen the K9 unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service execute their duties earlier on today. And now we have the mounted branch led by Assistant Commissioner of Police, Wayne Meister.
Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police, Wayne Meister, has very unique traditions to follow. Mounted branch has stalwarts, for example, former Commissioner of Police.
I always marvel at the discipline and control of the horses, how they seem to operate specifically under the command of the persons in charge of them. And they always bring an excellent display of pomp and posterity to any Independence Day proceeding.
And also speaks to the skill of the riders as well, because we see, yes, they're using their legs, but they have one hand on the reins because the other hand is holding that lance.
That is correct. That is correct. Even the senior officers on parade as well, who would have spent time with the mounted branch getting prepared and ready to execute these duties. We have 4 officers on horseback today, from the parade commander, the parade second in command, Commander Zimman King, the parade adjutant, Major Benny, and the aide to the parade commander, Squadron Leader Buki.
As they and providing riding courses for military personnel and civilians, as well as therapeutic riding classes for children.
Acting Corporal Joseph, PC Maharaj, PC Bedo, PC Ramsamy. Standard bearer is Sergeant Philip. The bugler is Corporal Pavi. The 2nd Division Sergeant Thomas. WPC Fontaine, PC Lewis, PC Emmanuel, and the rear guard comprises of Acting Corporal Williams and Woman Police Constable Cordner. Ladies and gentlemen, the mounted branch of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
And let us please be reminded that they are providing the presidential escort for Her Excellency the President on what is her inaugural visit to the Independence Day Parade.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Mounted Branch.
This morning, nodding their heads in approval.
One of the things that I always look at with the mounted branch is the control that they're able to hold over the mount during the national salute. Definitely is something.
These horses are very, very well trained. Very well trained. I'm aware that even outside of ceremonial responsibilities, they often prepare them for loud noises and large crowds by simulating specific activities so that so when you see them operate a certain way, it is because of the actual training that not just the riders go through, but the horses as well.
Definitely, work has gone, investment has gone into this, and even the level of training, we've been told this morning that they also help riding lessons for special needs individuals as well.
Excellent community engagement. So we'd have just witnessed the advance in review order. The parade commander would have given that instruction and they would have made 14 marching pieces forward and halted. They are going into the shoulder arms position and then we will hear the national anthem played.
And the principal office holders.
Another beautiful rendition of the national anthem, followed by the 21-gun salute, which was fired in honor of the 61st anniversary of the independence of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, now we saw the order that the dignitaries would have arrived. Will it be the same order that they leave in?
No, so they will be going now in reverse order. Her Excellency, the President, will depart first and she will be by the right. then subsequent reverse order of the departures will take place. The dignitaries will subsequently depart, and then the parade commander will order the final words of command for today's celebration.
As we see her on the monitor.
Yes, sir.
So what other signs mark the departure of the President Lieutenant in terms of, I believe there will also be a fanfare?
Yes, there will be a fanfare that will be played by the combined bands. This is a significant piece of music that only is played for Her Excellency.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the departure of our principal office holders.
For today's ceremony, and again she is accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff, the Vice Marshal Darrell Daniel, and escorted by the Mounted Branch.
This departure is followed by Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and Mrs. Rowley.
We now see the departure of Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and Mrs. Sharon Rowley, escorted by the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, and the Chief of Protocol.
We next have the departure of the Chief Justice, Mr. Justice Ivan Archie, and Miss Archie. Mrs. Archie.
So in keeping with the departure in reverse order, we now see the Prime Minister and his wife departing.
You would have noticed service personnel accompanying each of the individuals. For the purpose of today's parade, all of the dignitaries have been appointed aides who hold the rank of captain in the regiment, lieutenant in the Coast Guard, or flight lieutenant in the Air Guard as their personal aides for today's activities. Troops on parade holding true to form, maintaining that discipline and posture of excellence as we have seen since the commencement of today's proceedings, as we continue looking on at the departures of the dignitaries.
So we are currently seeing the departure of the Chief Justice, the Honorable Mr. Justice Ivor Archie, or RTT, and Mrs. Denise Rodriguez Archie, they were escorted by the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, and the Chief of Protocol. Time now for the departure of the Minister of National Security. The Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, and Mrs. Margaret Hines are about to
perform in commencement of being the first arrival. As per standard protocol, as we would have mentioned earlier, they would have departed in reverse order, with the Minister of National Security being the final dignitary who will be departing. And then the parade will resume with the parade commander giving final instructions to the detachments.
So in terms of that march off, we saw the reverse order in departures. Will we see reverse order in the contingents?
No, we won't. So the armed detachments will step off first. They will be led by specific bands. So the mass bands will separate into their individual bands, and then they will march off of the square and proceed for the route march, which takes place through Port of Spain.
So we would have had some individuals of the wider public here at the parade ground, but there will also be individuals who are looking to see the parade marching through the streets of Port of Spain, and they go to the Ken Cook Field in St. James Police Barracks. What happens there?
So the route marches are a really great highlight. I think for the persons on parade as well, they always look forward to hearing the cheers of the individuals who would come out and support in their red clothing, waving flags and shouting and screaming in support. They would march to the police barracks in St. James, and their final instructions will be given. The parade is falling out at that point in time, and that honestly signifies the end of the parade. However, being Independence Day, there would be a series of events and functions taking place in celebration of today's 61st anniversary.
So we see the contingent has turned to the right. What is happening at this point in time now?
So they would have given instructions to prepare for the march past, or the march out of the Queen's Park Savannah. The officers, the commissioned officers on parade who lead the detachments, they would go to the front, with the detachment commander going to the front, and detachment second command going to the rear, part of the detachment, and they will then be waiting for the bands to take their positions. The parade commander will then give the order to quick march, and they will exit the Queen's Box of Honor and begin the commencement of today's route march. The parade commander will give the order for the armed detachments to step off, and the parade second in command will give the order for the unarmed detachments to step off. So you can see the mass bands have been splitting up. This is the regiment band taking the lead, and they will lead the parade as we leave the Savannah and proceed on to the route march. Based on the individual detachments, various bands will intersect and will lead those areas musically.
Once again, as they are getting themselves ready to begin, we just see the talent and skill on display here, Independence Day, and it makes me remember the Edinburgh International Military Tattoo that we would have had representation at, showing what we are capable of as Trinidad and Tobago. And we're doing this today on the 65th of observation of our independence.
The Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force Steel Orchestra are truly ambassadors of Trinidad and Tobago. They always represent extremely well wherever they go, and that tattoo is a perfect demonstration of that.
Are we going to look at some of that demonstration right now?
Time for the big day itself, Independence Day Parade. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is profoundly indebted to those public officers who year after year work tirelessly towards the success of the Independence Day Parade effort. And we are in that era, we are in that time in our lives where we need and we recognize the need for encouraging the youth. The Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force led by the band and corps drums under Captain Peter Sawyer, and the Cadet Force Detachment under the command of Captain Dignitary. The Trinidad Cadet Force providing uninterrupted service from 1910 to present. fine and upstanding young citizens for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Tobago Prison Service Band, led by Supervisor of Prisons, Ricardo Hassan Ali. Band, ladies and gentlemen. They came all the way from Miaro. They are 52 strong, of young people ranging from age 11 to 19. Ladies and gentlemen, they are followed by the San Fernando District Scouts, Sea Scouts to be exact, and they all represent the Scout Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Put your hands together for the youth of our nation, ladies and gentlemen. They have worked hard for the last 8 weeks and they're out here sweating and toiling just for you. Still celebrating our youth is the Pathfinders Band going to pass before you shortly. These are all demonstrations of the fact that there are organizations out here that are putting in the work to groom young people to become responsible adults in society. They all are generally self-funded with some help, but they do need to be properly financed in order to make a bigger and better program. Still representing our youth, the Pentecostal Crusaders, bringing up the rear. Bringing up the rear on horseback is the parade adjutant, Major S. Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, the ushers amongst you will usher members of Parliament, senators, and members of the House of Representatives and the Diplomatic Corps at this time. Those persons with tickets and invitations for the toast to the nation will follow the departure of the members of the House of Representatives, Parliament, senators, etc., and the diplomatic corps. They would be followed by members of the judiciary. Those of us with tickets and invitations for the Toast to the Nation and choose to be transported by a shuttle, the shuttle will be outside. Those of us who choose to make the small trek across the road, please do so.
So we've just seen the march off of the parade ground. Lieutenant Valet, I want to ask you for your closing comments, like you.
Firstly, Dicky, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for working with you today on this tremendous occasion. Today truly was a wonderful and an excellent display of patriotism, national pride and dedication to duty by all of the persons on parade today. And it is an honor to be here. It is an honor to celebrate the 61st anniversary of our independence. And to you, your family, and the entire management and staff at the Trinidad and Tobago Television, happy Independence Day and all God's richest blessings to you as we continue as a nation. I look forward to 62 and much more.
Thank you, and likewise, there was a certain contingent that was driving past, and I saw you kind of lift up and square your shoulders. I won't say who it was.
Okay, all right. I'll have to...
But I see you had a little bit of, yes, man, that's my crew, that's my bad. But I want to thank you as well, Lieutenant Karen Valet. We also want to thank Major Kester Francis and National Scout Commissioner Mark Ainsley John. We invite you to stay tuned to TTT 8:30 to 9 p.m. tonight. We are going to show the very first Independence Day parade, and this is coming your way courtesy of the Information Division. So we say thank you as well to InfoDiv. Technical crew, we thank you very much for making this broadcast possible. I also want to selfishly take the opportunity to say happy birthday, TTT Limited. It is our birthday today, and last but not least, you, the viewers, thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast. This has been the Independence Day Parade 2023. Happy Independence.
The birth of TTT. On the historic birth of the sovereign state, the Trinidad and Tobago Television was born. TTT transmitted its services through two channels, TTT Channels 2 and 13. TTT's origins trace back to the visionary aspirations of Lord Roy Thompson, a Canadian businessman. As TTT made its debut, its first broadcast featured nightly news readings at 7 p.m. Led by news anchor Mervyn Telfer, TTT's original management consisted of non-nationals who installed cutting-edge equipment and trained a local workforce. Formally inaugurated on November 1st, 1962, TTT rapidly became a focal point of the nation's cultural and informational landscape. TTT resonated with viewers through a multitude of captivating programs, from its flagship news program Panorama to engaging shows like Scouting for Talent, Mastana Bahar, 12 and Under, and Community Dateline. TTT embraced a rich variety of content that mirrored the nation's diversity.
Thank you for watching TTT's coverage of the 2023 Independence Day Parade. TTT.
This Independence Day holiday, join TTT for a spectacular Independence Day Parade broadcast. Get ready to experience the heartwarming surge of patriotism as we honor our heroes, first responders, and those who have dedicated their lives to protecting our freedom. Whether you're on the parade route or from the comfort of your home, tune in to TTT 91.1 FM and TTT Live Online on August 31st at 8 a.m. as we celebrate the magic of freedom. Happy Independence Day, Trinidad and Tobago.
The melodic conqueror of TNT's 1962 Independence Calypso crown. In 1962, Cade Simon, also known as Lord Bryner, emerged as the triumphant figure in the realm of Calypso, claiming the coveted title of Independence Calypso King. In 1962, the Independence Calypso show, held at City Hall, was packed to capacity. When the results were announced, Bryner had to run and jump onto in a fiercely contested Calypso competition, surpassing other esteemed contenders such as the Mighty Sparrow, Nat Hepburn, and the Mighty Bomber, who secured second, third, and fourth positions respectively. This achievement earned Lord Bryner a substantial cash prize of $1,000. Bryner went on to record 57-inch records and LPs. On at least one of his calypsos, Bob Marley was a backup chorus singer.
Antigua is my second home. And fellas, those of you that are allergic to extremely beautiful women, don't come Antigua, right? Because there's problems in here.
Come here next year.
Visit here.
And come to Isle of Soca.
20 at 10:30 a.m. Play with the 12 King Mega Ball called. Pick 2 the numbers 26 and 11 in that order. Pick 4 the numbers 8, 9, 2 and 6 in that order. At 1 p.m. play with number 25 Moroccoy Mega Bonus Ball called. Pick 2 the numbers 27 and 35 in that order. Pick 4 the numbers 5, 9, 6 and 8 in that order. At 4 p.m., play with number 2, Old Lady, 3 Mega Bonus Balls called. Pick 2, the numbers 35 and 1 in that order. Pick 4, the numbers 1, 8, 1 and 6 in that order. And at 7 p.m., play with number 7, Hog, Mega Bonus Ball called. Pick 2, the numbers 13 and 20 in that order. Pick 4, the numbers 2, 1, 4 and 8 in that order. Cashbot, the numbers 9, 7, 17, 2, 9, 1.
Stand by 45 to the first tape. Cal will be coming to you. 3, 2, 1. With the car. Run here.
The birth of a nation. The end of a British colonial era. As our beloved nation took this giant step of independence, Trinidad and Tobago Television held up the mirror, reflecting our brand new start. Our nation's first birthday, the station's first live broadcast, 2 defining moments celebrated as one.
I think it meant for some people that we had entered the world as a country because we had this new plaything.
We were young, we were vibrant, we were fresh, we were new. And so what TTT was an opportunity for the nation to be informed, entertained, right, and educated.
It represented ambition. It represented the quest to be among the nations of the world with television coverage.
The government set up television stations in like Woodford Square and a few other squares, but people didn't have sets at that time.
The set count was only 1,500 television sets. The population at that time might have just been around 800,000 in Trinidad and Tobago.
In fact, TTT did not exist as a building at that time. It was just a concrete slab. From what I understand from reading, they built a quick hut on the slab with enough room for Mervyn Telfer, who was the first presenter on television.
The new national station provided our young nation with an early collection of local celebrities.
The TTT story is a big story. It's a long story. It's populated by huge personalities.
People like Trevor MacDonald, Clyde Elaine, Mervyn Telfer, who was the very first news anchor at TTT.
Even Peter Minshall later on was a news presenter.
Don Proudfoot, Bobby Thomas,
Alison Hennessy, Albert Charles, Wellington Yenchong, Jamaluddin Samad, and the list goes on. All names of persons who were in various roles and capacities at TTT.
I love Mr. Rafi Knowles.
You probably don't know the name, but Rafi Knowles was a legendary sports presenter on Panorama. He would memorize the whole sports broadcast. He was also meticulous with his statistics, and he would learn all those statistics and he would just spout them out.
The eyes and ears of a nation, giving us a glimpse into some of the earliest viral worthy moments.
Blue Boy going on, and the whole stage is full of people.
Everybody, start the wave, start the wave, start the wave, start the wave. Everybody, start the wave, start the wave, start the wave, start the wave. When you come to four, when you come to four, when you come to, let me go.
There's Shadow singing Pak Pak, but the crowd is just losing its mind. I'm so glad that we had a television station there to capture those things.
A lot could be said about TTT as an institution.
I was born 2 years after independence, so we're the first independent generation. I'm watching TTT back in the day as the only station that was your conduit to the world.
Trinidad and Tobago Television was created by Canadian businessman Roy Thompson, then owner of the Thompson Organization. Back then, a partnership existed between the Thompson Organization, Rediffusion, a business that distributed radio and TV signals, CBS, and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, who then owned a 10% share in the television station. Channels 2 and 13 were the two channels used to transmit the service. The initial operational management was a combination of foreign and local individuals. The success of any nation depends on the collective efforts of its people. Much like their newly independent country, the new employees of TTT would roll up their sleeves, committed and dedicated to this unknown territory despite their color, creed and race.
The training I received was very hands-on.
Salaries started at $375 a month for a trainee. You know, $375 went a long way when you're living by your mother and you don't really have any expenses.
The experienced editors trained me, so I sat and I looked at them and I watched what they were doing, and then you go in and you try to get your hands dirty. As an editor, what we did was we had to make sure that there was no obscene content. We had to hold the film and clean the film as it goes through the reels, and clean the film to make sure there were no holes in the film and there were no slices.
When I left high school, I walked into TTT at 17 and said I want a job because I had seen an after-school program where people were actually on the TV looking like me. And they're like, we don't hire minors, so come back when you're 18. So I went away and I came back when I was 18 and said, okay, I'm 18, I want a job. And they made me wait for like 3 months, but that's a whole other story. I would start as a trainee reporter in the newsroom. I never wanted to be a reporter. I mean, it used to be, felt good to be talking to my English literature teacher who told me, you know, I was like a crazy person, basically. So I used to like, I'm telling you the news, you have to listen to me. I found it to be a place where I had opportunities and I took them.
Seeing your name rolling in a credit in a show was still something that made you feel proud that you worked on this, especially if you're proud of the show. I mean, there were some shows I told them I don't want no credit, you know what I mean?
We had pride in what we were doing back then.
And we also had great, you know, camaraderie in terms of liming together.
The station's early programming was a reflection of its ownership, consisting of mainly British and American culture.
You had shows like Bonanza, of course. Bonanza was one of the big shows.
It was an outing for us to go to the neighbor's house to look at Bonanza on a Friday evening. One villager had a TV set.
We would rent our television set in those days. You didn't buy one in the early days. You rented it from sports and games, tele-rentals. You rent it per month, just like you would rent your Rediffusion set and so on.
There was a shop in the village, a Chinese shop, where we collected our mail. And I went to the shop and the shopkeeper said to me, there is a letter here for you. And I saw the picture of the 4-star cast. Adam, Ben, Hoss, and Little Joe. And I began to shout and show everybody in the shop. I got a personal autographed photograph from the Bonanza crew.
The Lucille Ball show, I Love Lucy, Hogan's Heroes. Those are some of the really big shows in those days.
You think he's satisfied? Why don't you ask him?
We grew up on those monumental films. And there's a story that I can tell related to me by one of the seniors at TTT by the name of Errol Harry Lal, a caller to the station, a female caller to the station in the early life of TTT, called for Little Joe to speak with Little Joe. And Errol, the witty person he was, said to the lady, hold on ma'am, let me check. And he walked around and came back, took up the phone and said to her, I'm sorry, he just rode off.
I watched enough Indian movie on TTT so that by the time I got to India, which is one of the high points of my life, going to all those cities in India. We went on a trip to India. It was like, you understand the place, it making sense, you know.
You know, we used to run them on a Sunday. They were like 4 or 5 hours long, and we had to go through those tapes and clean them actually, because they would come in reels, and we had to make sure that the reels didn't have holes so they wouldn't skip when they're being shown. We actually enjoy looking at them because they had this storyline. They will grip you and pull you in.
Love. Listening to Lata Mangeshkar later on in life because of this cultural grounding of looking at Bollywood films.
I mean, you have to give thanks for that cultural richness. You know, we're not operating in ignorance. It's like, wow, I know this, I'm familiar with this.
Sunny day, sweeping the clouds away, on my way to where the air is sweet.
Well, of course, all of us at that age was Sesame Street and Electric Company eventually.
Up to today, I can still sing so many songs from Sesame Street because that was something that we watched with a sort of, you know, religious obsessiveness.
And do the duck, rubber duck, duck, rubber duck, rubber duck, duck, rubber duck, duck, rubber duck, duck, rubber duck, duck, rubber duck.
But the station's first programming manager, Farouk Mohammed, had his eyes set on doing something more.
I always saw Trinidad and Tobago as a multicultural, poly nation with many cultures, and so I tried to reflect on the screen faces from all of the various ethnic groups in Trinidad and Tobago. So there was a combination of cultural programming and sport.
Best Village, Indian Cultural Magazine, No Boundaries, Community Dateline, That Week with Yusuf Ali, Not for Women Only, College Quiz, Calypso Showcase, News Capsule, Play Your Cards Right, the first game show in the country, Teen Dance Party, Rikki Tikki, Parade, Indian Variety, Mastana Bahar, Scouting for Talent, 12 and Under, Teen Talent, Party Time, Talking It Out. That's just some of the content.
I mean, those things, you know, kind of make you feel real in the society that you live in. And the things that I do, they're not totally invisible, and they're not totally things that are hidden and denied from the national conversation about what it means to be Trinidadian or Tobagonian.
As an Asian, someone who I could identify with across all lines. Who owns the story for me is even as important as who tells the story. And so for many years, you had our stories being told by other people who had a different impression of who we are. And so we grew up thinking, this is beauty. This is what's important. These are the persons I need to emulate. This is my impression of what the world looks like. And it may not be our world.
Our very first Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams, in one of his initial speeches said that, you know, the future way forward for the people of the Caribbean is to be the subjects of their story and not the objects, so not being defined by others. We have to take on the task of defining ourselves, to ourselves, for ourselves. I was like a kind of a TV guide in the house. Like I knew what shows were coming up on what day and what not. I was inherently a TV peon. I was drawn to TV. I was intrigued by TV. I would watch almost anything that was on the TV at the time. I remember one of the main things I got from early television was Best Village, a sense of our folk culture. Scouting was huge. Watching the many characters that come up, and some of them surprise you and some of them are just so funny.
All sorts of people would be on it. We were very disparaging. We used to call it scrunting for talent. You know, there was a deep, deep value to being able to see yourself replicated on a show like this.
Wait, hold on. That is going to age me. That's so funny. Interestingly enough, Auntie Germaine Eriche ran the show at the time. And so, you know, she would say, you have to come on the show, you guys have to come. And I would come as a 6-year-old, read my poem, you know, Pretty Birds in the Trees, sing for me, please. When you sing, you bring me joy like my beautiful toy. I wrote that when I was 6 years old, and I came and I recited it. So, you know, I was like a regular coming on and off. And then when I was 13 years of age, and then, you know, I'd come and do little things like make my cookies or whatever, right? But then when I was 13 years of age, O'Neill Davis, I was waiting on my brother who was doing the Rikki Tikki disco time at the time, Robert Wickham. So I was waiting on Robert, and O'Neill said, Lisa, come, I have something for you to do. I was 13, and I said, no, not me, not me. And then he said, yes, come. And he put me to do the spelling bee, right? And that was the segment where, you know, I'd ask, spell Robert, you know, or spell whatever. And it was a full segment. So I did it because, you know, your girl have to shine wherever you go. And he said, at the end, he said, well, you know, this is not going to be the last time you do this. And that's how I got that segment, right? So it was the Rikki Tikki spelling bee. And then, you know, just continued doing weekly, every week. And to date, I think it's still the only live children's show that ever existed. That prepared me for so much, because it prepared me for being able to be spontaneous, confident, because live is live, right? And live is a different animal. So I always liked live since then. And then just staying on, so I did that all the way up until 6th form. And then Albert Charles called me. He said, I've spoken to Wendell. I think Wendell was casted first, Constantine, right? He said, you're the person who he wanted, you know, as his female lead. And I said, okay, for what? He said, well, party time. I was like, what? And that, let me tell you, that was like nothing we've ever experienced before, because again, one TV station, no internet. I know people watching this are like, no internet? What's going on? You know, but no internet, nothing else but TTT. So can you imagine the whole country watching Party Time? That was insane.
Walk on by. Walk on by.
You grew up in the 80s where, you know, you're seeing like this kind of TV that is almost nostalgic, right? And that belongs to your parents. And then Party Time happens, and all of a sudden you're seeing your contemporaries. You know, like I remember the first time, you know, seeing, oh gosh, what was the name of that group that Hot Dog was in? But, you know, then they came into schools, and it was like, these are our stars. You know, so Hot Dog being on the street, Marlon Grant is his name, but, you know, seeing Hot Dog on the street, seeing people like Jamie Thomas, the late Jamie Thomas.
Party Time provided the platform for young people to show their talent.
Marshall Montano and the Panasonic Express debuted on Party Time. Oscar Benjamin won the lip sync category at Party Time and was selected by Byron Lee to be his frontline vocalist from Jamaica Carnival for 10 years onwards. We've had Sanel Dempster, we've had Denise Belfort, we have persons from H2O Flow, persons who went on to record with the Kiskadee Caravan. Some became dancers for outstanding groups both locally and internationally.
Ricardo Mendoza, who's now a big singer in New York. You know, Ozzie Merrick, who won lip syncing with a David Rudder song, which was unheard of in that time.
There are no boundaries.
We had some good soap operas that, you know, that situated us, and, you know, of course, we love Bacchanal, right? We love a Bacchanal.
You ever went to jail, Chopper? I never helped no woman with no bag, yeah. Jail is not a nice place. I make up my mind. I done with all women, especially them pretty ones. I go be a priest.
I basically ninjaed and jumbied Horace to put me on the crew where I was the entire production department. Being the person that got the food, the person that took the notes, the script supervisor, the PA, the person that, the wardrobe person sometimes the makeup artist. So it just whatever needed to be done, I did it. And we made it happen with 5 people. It was the most amazing experience. I think it set the foundation for me, for my work ethic.
Ken, Roy, Lalu, we're ready when you are.
Okay, Miss B. All right. Hey. My name is Kenoy X, and don't get me vexed, cause you will never get a taste of my super sex.
My name is Lalu X, and I am up next. And all these saucy girls, they get to come and squeeze my pecs.
Because we're hard, and we're bad, not just another passing fad.
I say we're groovy, just like a movie.
Well, I started writing about my apartment building where I was living, because why in Italia? There was a lot of bacchanal. So, and then just people that I knew, and two. At 12 o'clock on TTT was Young and the Restless that the country used to shut down for. And I remember walking into a restaurant or a fast food place in Ellerslie and gone up to the counter to order my food, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling eyes on my back. And I look around and I'm like, why is everyone staring at me? On the counter was a TV and everybody was looking at Young and the Restless.
I can't say that I really was into soap opera. No, I lie. Everybody used to watch Young and Restless. We were obsessed with Young and Restless.
What I didn't say was where I was going and why. Oh, God. Mom, I'm getting married.
But really, what was the quality level and what were the things that those shows were telling us about ourselves? Nothing really, except that we are invisible in a space like that.
We could do this, We have people that make glamorous clothing, and we could have, we have high-end people, and let's do our Young and the Restless. And the first season, I made sure that everybody was wearing local clothing, that it was, it was all us. And it was there. I just said we could do this, and why not? Why not give our people an opportunity to be on television every week, and have continuous work. That was the other plan for Westwood Park. Westwood Park was so that, one, people would hone their skills working continuously, working on television, because most of our actors were theatre actors. There weren't very, if any at all, I don't think there were any television actors per se. So it was a whole learning curve for them.
Shut up and pretend you're enjoying this.
There was a mixed reaction. Like, a lot of people were like, oh my God, this is so great, lovely, wonderful. And then there were others like, well, to them, why they feel they're trying to be American? They're trying to That was after the first season. Then after the second season, it became the most watched show. And we had cable at the time, in the country after news. And then it continued to snowball. And then, people started to come out of the closet and say, yeah, I watch it. But I think it could stand the test of time visually. And we have a whole generation just who've never seen it, don't know anything about
it. We don't realize it, but as a society, we've been programmed by TTT. We've been programmed by NBS Radio. We've been programmed by Radio Trinidad. You would remember if you heard David Elcock in the morning where you needed to be. You might have been late for school. Or you might have remembered ta-dum, 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 tum-tum-tum, and that said Allison was going to be on. Or you might have remembered pa-pum, pa-tum, 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 pa-ta-tum, pa-tum, ta-tum, ta-tum. You knew it was 7 o'clock and you better be home because Panorama was on. That's programming.
7 o'clock was the hour of television viewing in Trinidad and Tobago. Families will get together before the news, sit around the TV, and the moment the presenter comes on, there is quiet in the home.
At 7 o'clock, everything stopped.
Everything comes to an end at 7 p.m. when news comes on.
The elders will ensure that children didn't make noise because they wanted to listen to every word that came out of the lips of the news anchor.
That was grandfather time. If you watch the news, you can't be making no ruckus and whatnot.
There was no negotiating, right? You had to sit there for an hour.
And for the children, we were told as little children from school that you've got to look up the news and ensure that when you come here tomorrow, you can tell us what happened in the news last night. When I presented the news, when I was given the opportunity by Neil Giuseppe to present Panorama, it was a nervous period in my life. I was presenting stories on radio and presenting stories on the field, but this is the first time I am going into the big league, sitting down on that Panorama set and presenting the news for that 1 hour period.
I joined TDT on the 15th of July 1971. The thing that impressed me most in those early days at TDT and throughout my time at TDT was the level of professionalism that existed among all the staff. I mean, in every department. Apart from the on-air people, I say Bobby Thomas, Don Proudfoot, Ed Fong, Yusuf Ali, you had in the technical department some of the best. Timmy Mora, Stephen Lee Powell, Andy Smart. These fellows have gone on to make names for themselves. In the programming department, apart from Farouk, you had people like Ann Winston, Ethel Bethelmi, Errol Harilal, Shafiq Mohammed. So I really enjoyed those formative, and I learned so much from all of them.
The training, hard work and dedication would go on to bear fruit for a young Neil Giuseppe when in 1975 the then manager Ed Fong would be appointed to radio. Neil was only 26 years old at the time he was appointed head of news.
Well, I nearly got a heart attack because it was the last thing I expected. And immediately I decided that I had to make a difference in the news. I refused to just toe the line as such. One of the first things I did though was start to look for staff to enhance the quality of personnel in the newsroom. And there are two people I hired of whom I am very proud. The first was Dominic Kalipasad. He was at the time a technical operator, but I realized early o'clock, long before I was appointed head of news, that he had potential to be something better than that.
Heading our top stories today with investigations leading up to the trial, which ended today with a verdict of guilty.
The second person I hired, but I hired him straight out of school, he had just finished A-level, was Bernard Pantin. There was a third person I hired, but not during my TTT days, but I brought him into the media and he's a television legend today. That's Fazir Mohammed. I hired Fazir when I was managing director of Trinidad Broadcasting a few years later. Apart from the new people I brought in, the people like Salisha Ali, Liz Akwi, Vern Burnett, all those became part of the news team. There was a work ethic in that department in those days that I think the young reporters of today would do well to emulate.
I remembered whenever there was a flood in Barrackpore, I would get a call and Aman Singh would have to go to cover the floods in Barrackpore. and see the sufferings of people and all the problems of clogged drains in the north. You covered what people wanted the nation to see about their communities, about their sufferings. And that to me was fulfilling the needs of the community.
I remember the night when Eric Williams died. And that day, Dale Colasing and I went on air and carried up the telecast for the entire day and into the night, the two of us, while we were being fed with material from all the reporters and so forth. That was another very historic day in the life of TTT.
And what's a newsroom without some humorous moments?
There was this man, before the advent of Wayne Kublal Singh, who had gone on a fast. He had some issue with an insurance company, and he decided that he is going to go on a fast. And it had reached to the point where he was telling the nation that the doctors had given him 3 days to live. I did a live interview with him on Panorama. I said, "Mr. Matadine, you sound so weak." He said, "Yes, I'm very weak. I haven't eaten for a long time, and I will not eat until this matter is resolved." Neighbor, "You have been eating in the night." And he said, "Who the hell say that?" And suddenly Mr. Matadine found his strength and his voice live on Panorama, and that ended Mr. Matadine's fast.
Throughout the years, Trinidad and Tobago Television Studios has seen the likes of many international celebrities and persons in public life who would stop to say hello to Trinbago.
Among them were people like Cyrus Vance, who was the American Secretary of State, Andrew Young, who was the first black American ambassador to the United Nations, Oscar Peterson, the famous Canadian pianist, was there, Red Fox of Sanford and Son fame, he was also there. Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 came to TTT. The one regret I have, and I could have been a multi-millionaire today, Bob Marley was there. And I used to tell them when I was head of news, when they interviewed him downstairs, bring him up to the newsroom so we could talk to him. And Bob Marley sat with me for about half an hour. And Bob Marley gave me a big poster of himself, which he autographed to Neil from. And to this day, I don't know what became of the poster. I would have been a million. I could have sold that on eBay for $1 million.
Entertainment to current affairs, human interest to politics, TTT journalists went above and beyond to bring the story to Trinidad and Tobago. But nothing would have prepared them for what was standing in front of them. They would have to put on a brave face standing in the line of fire.
The phone rang, and I answered the phone, and the lady's voice in hysteria is on the phone. Mister, I just hear a loud explosion in town. So I said, where in town? She said, I don't know, but it's somewhere like Richmond Street. And the phone went down. So I went outside looking for a crew to go in pursuit. I didn't see anybody. I came back inside, phone rang again. I answered, a deliberate male voice, tell Madeira. The police headquarters are under attack. What kind of attack? I asked the man.
The police headquarters in downtown Port Spain has been gutted by fire.
I went back outside again. Didn't find a crew, and I came back. And as I came back in, this is now closer to 6:15 in the evening. I heard gunfire outside, and I went outside and I saw a gunman walking from the main building into the old building where we were housed in the newsroom. And I ran back inside and I told Dominic Kaliprasad and Vern Burnett, who were there, that a gunman is coming. He's wearing black and he has a gun in his hand. And I went to the back of the newsroom where we had some editing suites under a table hiding.
Meanwhile, in the capital city, the Jamaat al-Muslimin stormed the parliament and held persons inside hostage, including the then Prime Minister A.N.R. Robinson. The police headquarters was firebombed. At Trinidad and Tobago Television, the storytellers in the newsroom would become the stories. Vern Burnett, Gideon Hanumansing, Dominic Kaliprasad were inside the newsroom. Over 20 additional persons were held hostage.
So I had my hands raised over my head and I walked out. As I walked out, I saw the same man with the gun looking at me. And he said, "What are you doing in the back there? Don't stay there. Come in front, come in front. You're not our enemy. You are our friend. Come in the newsroom." And as I walked in the newsroom, his tone changed from a nice, calm, comforting person to the rebel that he really was. "Get your ass on the ground."
Neil Giuseppe, now an executive assistant at Telco, had just left TTT after picking up a package.
And what saved me was the fact that there was football in the stadium that evening. And I was planning to go to the match. Trinidad was playing. And at 25-6, I told Jones, it's time for me to leave. And I left and headed for the stadium. 25 minutes after I left, Abu Bakr and the boys arrived.
My sister she had actually just started working at TTT when the incident happened. I think she got home maybe about half an hour before things started to kick off, right? Which was great because I know my mother would have gone out to get her back, and it would not have ended well for anybody who was involved in that.
But it was not all smiles for Dominic Kaliprasad, Vern Burnett and Gideon Hanumansing.
Shortly after,